the data on there. So hopefully it's good.
Hey everybody, this is Roberto Blake helping you create something awesome today with the Streamyard crew. And today I've got Christian with me. What's up, man? How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. It is Friday. If you're watching this in real time with us live, we are looking forward to answering some of your questions, but we're also going to have a discussion. And I actually have some things that I'm going to show you guys that I'm actually going to plop up on the screen. We're going to talk to you today about podcasting with StreamYard and video, especially if you're a YouTube content creator, but we're also going to be talking to you about the things that you need in order to do a podcast. And it's like a lot of it's actually budget friendly. I'm one of those expensive tech people, but we have some like budget friendly solutions here. And we're going to answer a lot of your questions. And in fact, actually, I have something cool that I want to plop up on the screen real quick, Christian.
Yeah, sure.
So because I'm doing the fancy multicam thing.
Okay.
You can actually see here that this is a like $120 Elgato microphone. And the reason that this is a more expensive but very cool microphone is the fact that you can literally do everything you need with software when it comes to this, instead of having to have an audio interface. So if you don't want to have a fancy audio interface like my Rodecaster here, this lets you do a lot of it with software from Elgato. This is a webcam that is about $100 right now, and you can use that. And then with these two devices, for less than $250, you already have a great podcast. Or you could combine this with the phone you already have, route all of that through StreamYard, and guess what? You're off to the races. So then it becomes like about $100 investment. So right off the bat, Christian, like we are making this accessible to people. We're making this accessible and affordable. You do not have to be intimidated by making a podcast for video.
Not all. And I love the fact that, you showed some of the good items that people can start with when they're making a podcast, so that webcam, you want to level up your laptop webcam, for example, get that Logitech C920 and then the Elgato Wavelink. The other thing I really like about that, as you mentioned, it's got the software piece, and we're seeing this with both Elgato and Rode as well, by the way. So Rode's got Rode Connect. They basically have the mic, a companion piece of software, and then they're basically taking a lot of the functionality of that audio interface, like the Rodecaster Pro, and they're building it into the software. And so you can actually do virtual cable routing. You want to bring background music into your podcast or your live stream, for example, in this case, you can bring it all through that software. You do have to have those mics, though, the NT USB 1 from Rode and the Wavelink to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And those are relatively a little pricier, but once you have them, you really have what you need in terms of the hardware piece. So again, we're going to get into that. We want to answer a lot of your basic questions. And again, I think it's important for us to literally just start, I think, with, I guess, maybe telling them a little bit about StreamYard, because I think that one of the core pieces here is that if you want to go into video, because a lot of people coming to this might already have an audio podcast, or they might be thinking of starting one. Let's talk about kind of the benefits of StreamYard right off the bat so that they know what it is, so that when we're talking to them about what StreamYard can do for them, they know what StreamYard actually is. So let's talk about that.
Well, so StreamYard, it's live streaming software. It goes through your browser. You basically just go to StreamYard.com. You don't have to download any apps. You don't have to really install anything, which is pretty fantastic. Outside of that, though, it's not just for, going live to for example, you can multi-stream to Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live, Twitch, a bunch of other channels. You can also go to custom destinations. So if you want to get to Amazon Live, fantastic option there. And then what's really great about it, though, is that it's not just for live streaming. So people can use it for course creation. So if you want to use the record only feature, if you go under destinations, for example, there's a skip record option here. Skip and record only option. And so I can just stream, for example, I can stream to destinations, or I can just record an option, and then this way I am getting, multiple types of video that I can use. In addition to that, though, and that's the primary topic, obviously, for today's show. And it's the fact that you can use it to record a podcast. And then there's so many other things also, by the way. You can use it for, say you want to just say Roberto and I wanted to actually just have a meeting. We could go directly into stream. We don't have to record. We don't have to live stream. We can literally just open the dashboard and talk to one another. and pass links back and forth, screen share. I mean, there's just so many things. So
you could set up a collab meeting in a Facebook group and do it directly with using StreamYard. Like I use it in my coaching group, Awesome Creator Academy. We use that to do our Q&A sessions with our community because one, it's a very convenient thing, but then also people from our community can come up and ask a question on camera if they are set up for that and they want to do that and just interact with us directly. And they can also screen share because this is also great as like you saw just now, even in real time, Christian, I was able to screen share the interface while we were doing this and show them how easy it is for me to literally just either record or go live or broadcast. You saw that I could do it with just a couple of clicks and nothing I had to download.
Nothing. And that's the great thing. I mean, there's all you have to do is you obviously you just open your computer, you go to your browser, and then, for example, you want to bring on a guest. Roberto sent me a link. I click to join and I'm right in the StreamYard dashboard. And then it's up to him to just, kick things off. In addition to that, also, as you can see here, I mean, you can bring in comments so you can make your live streams more engaging. You could even display banners along the side as well. So, there's a lot of options here for you to use StreamYard. And I know as you and I talked, I mean, we did want to talk about the podcasting angle, right?
Yeah, 1,000%. Because like I was showing you, there's just so many great features with StreamYard. And again, I know that like it might sound like we're super biased, but the thing is, I've used everything out there, Christian. I've used wonderful pieces of software that even cost $1,000. And I've not had the benefits and value that StreamYard offers with them. And they had high learning curves. They were very expensive to maintain. And I was using basically what I felt was professional broadcast software, but I wasn't always getting professional broadcast results, which StreamYard had been able to do that because it's browser based and it's easy to use. When my guests need to come in, which is probably for me the most important part, when my guests need to come in, they don't have to learn anything. They don't have to struggle. They don't, when I want to teach and onboard my students, they don't have to learn anything to be able to have this interaction and to do anything.
And by the way, I'm going to echo the same exact point you did. And it's the fact that when I first started doing live streaming, it was years ago with Google Hangouts, but I also tried a lot of other software as well. And I spent $1,000, for example, on a piece of software that I was like, oh, this is exactly what I need. And then it turned out that I needed the software, but I also needed a lot of hardware to make it work. I needed optimal internet. And then, it was more frustrating to me. And so then I started looking for solutions, and that's where I actually stumbled upon StreamYard, and I actually use it for my own show. And I've been using it for quite a few years because the quality is it's amazing quality. And the other thing was I was actually traveling when I was using it, and I never knew what my internet was going to be like. And it worked every single time. And that was just the most amazing thing for me, when I was looking for a live streaming solution.
1,000%. Christian, real quick. Sure. Let's start to break down for people the step-by-step process of starting a podcast. Because what I want to know is from the live audience, do any of you have a podcast right now or you're thinking of starting one? Because I'd imagine if you're watching right now, you either have a podcast or you're thinking of starting one. And I want to hear from you in the comments, like where you are. Are you guys about to launch a podcast? Whether you're in the live, by the way, or in the replay, let us know in the comment section if you're watching the replay. Are you starting your podcast or do you already have one? And are you trying to transition that to being a video podcast?
Great question, by the way. Yeah, because a lot of people, I mean, if they're wanting to start a podcast, there are a few, there's a few things you need. I mean, if you want to do the audio podcast, can I highlight some of those, by the way? Awesome. So,
yes, please do.
So obviously, I mean, if you want to start an audio podcast, I mean, obviously you're going to need hosting for your podcast. So that is going to be, one upfront cost. It's going to be, where do I want to put the files that platforms like, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google, I think it's is it Google Podcast now or Google Music?
It's Google Podcast still.
Yeah. So, you're going to have to you're going to have to put the files somewhere, and then your sources, they're going to need to go and they're going to go look for the file and say, okay, is there something new? And if it is, they're going to pull it back out. So that's gonna be the first thing. And there's lots of places you can go about getting hosting. For example, if you're just starting with a podcast, you can check out Anchor, Spotify. I think they have hosting now, but I prefer like services like Captivate, let's see what else. There's also, I think it's Buzzsprout. I think, yeah, Buzzsprout as well for podcast hosting.
Buzzsprout. One thing I will tell you about Buzzsprout, I don't know if this applies to Simplecast. I have to verify, but one of the great benefits of Buzzsprout is that they host your podcast forever. Even if you stop paying, even if the host were to, God forbid, pass away, their podcast would live on and would truly outlive them because it's hosted and still distributed and still available for the community. So that lifetime guarantee is something that I really value and appreciate. If you're going to pay for hosting, I would rather have something like Buzzsprout. And I think this applies to Simplecast as well. There are obviously some limitations to how much you can upload based on your payment plan. But if you stopped paying, your podcast wouldn't disappear from the face of the earth.
That's actually really good to know. I mean, so you've got free options, you got paid options. It's partly, a lot of these, some of them will say, oh, you get X amount of downloads per month. Personally, if I'm just starting a podcast, I wouldn't care about that as much because for the most part, the numbers are going to seem small, but it's also, you have to get your audience to download your podcast, so don't focus too much on like, oh, they're limiting me at, 5,000 downloads, for example. And that's why I did go with Captivate, by the way, for my podcast. But you need a host. So you got to take a place to like take all those files you record, put them on the host. So then outside of that, though, I mean, the only equipment really you need, as Roberto mentioned, you need a microphone. And it doesn't have to be that's the Elgato Wavelink. You could even
the Elgato Wave 3 with all the built-in software. And it has one of the other great features is it has this mute button here on the top. Actually, let me go ahead and I'll while we talk about the gear, I'll go ahead and I will zoom in on the gear. So I'm just going to switch over to my other camera here.
Definitely,
And so you'll notice that for my current podcasting setup, we have my plant here in the foreground here. Okay. But for my current own podcasting setup, I have a Rode caster over here. So you can see that this is my Rodecaster. This is like my deck here. And then I have things like for the video side, I have the Atom Mini switcher. I have my Stream Deck. Again, this gets to be a little expensive. Like this is $300 if you get the Mini instead of the Mini Pro or whatever. This is like $300. This is like $100. This is like $600. And then the Rode. The Shure SMB, the SM7B, which is basically the Joe Rogan microphone. Yes, that's a $400 microphone. So I'm a lunatic. Okay, I'm a lunatic. You don't need to do any of that. You can accomplish the same level of quality with $120 Elgato Wave 3 because that is going to have the software that you can get from Elgato to help you, and then this Logitech C920, and then with their software you can actually even control this. And if you don't have the extra $100 for a webcam, you take your phone and your phone is hooked up as a webcam and a source to Streamyard. This is the other great thing about Streamyard. This is a source and this is a source, and that's all you would need is a phone and a microphone. This is your video source, this is your audio source, and that happens in Streamyard on the back end. And it's all put together for you. So none of that, oh, I have to record and then I have to sync the audio and none of that. It's all tied together on the back end. And then StreamYard has features to help you improve the audio, even beyond the software that comes with this microphone in terms of hardware. So for as little as about $150, all the way up with $150 in terms of a microphone investment and your phone, and then StreamYard, which there's a free version of StreamYard you could use. And you could do that without this Logitech camera. And that's all you would really need if you wanted to get started hardware-wise with your podcast.
And by the way, I have the same exact, you and I have basically the same exact kit. I've got the Rodecaster Pro, I've got the Shure SM7B, I've got the ATEM Mini, and then I also have the Stream Deck as well that I use for certain things. But you don't need all of that to get started. And that's the one thing I want to elaborate drive home, is that you do not need all of that. You just need a good quality microphone, and as you mentioned, you've got the Elgato Wavelink. If you even want to step down, you could even go with the Samson Q2U, for example. That's a $70 mic.
It's comparable you have if you're a gamer and you're going to do Twitch and you're going to stream. The Razer Siren is like $80.
Yeah. So basically you get a good microphone. Now for a webcam, you can go with a Logitech C920. As Roberto mentioned, you can also go with like you can use apps like Reincubate Camo, Irian Cam, I think, for converting your smartphone into a camera. So that way you can actually use, I think we actually have the same phone, by the way.
Yeah.
You can use the camera that's in here, which is really fantastic, by the way, for your live streams. So to get started with a podcast, you just need hosting. There's free solutions, there's paid solutions. Philippines, Daryl Cheeks. The software I use Captivate for my podcast hosting. Roberto, which one were you mentioning?
So I use Simplecast, but you could also use Buzzsprout. Me and my friends have a podcast together, and we have Buzzsprout for that. On my own podcast, Create Something Awesome Today, which you can look up on YouTube, Apple, all the things. Then we have that there, and that's on Simplecast. Both of those will allow you to have a team manage your podcast as well. If you have somebody that you need to go into the back end and help with things or edit. I'm dropping links to a pro and a budget podcasting kit. These will be my Amazon affiliate links with kit.co. And so I'm dropping both the pro version and the budget version for you. I'm also going to go ahead and link those in the description of the video that we have going on here so that people have access to that. Just a quick reminder, those are affiliate links and I got a tiny, tiny commission from those. But it'll at least help you with your shopping list if you've ever, been in doubt about what to buy. So just wanted you guys to know that.
Awesome. So that's what you need to get started for your podcast. Any questions, by the way, if you're watching right now, if you have any additional questions on this, let us know in the comments. Now, in terms of so that's if you want to just do an audio podcast. I do want to mention, Roberto, you did mention using an audio interface like the Rodecaster Pro or things like that.
Yes.
One great thing about that, by the way, is that, we can record directly to that. So it actually, for example, we can actually add the intro. We can, because they've got some sound pads on there. We can also then record directly into it.
In fact, let me just give them a little peek at that.
Sure.
Okay. So, and I can even, the benefits of having really expensive gear is I can do weird stuff like this. Okay. So literally with this, we can control the volume of my audio. Look at it go down. Okay. So we can do that. I can even mute my like that so I can cut off and mute. So we have all of that here that we control from this interface. We also can input sounds and everything like that. For my podcast, I have an intro queued up right here.
Welcome to the Create Something Awesome Today podcast.
So you can do that. You have all of those things. You have these different things you can do, your intros, your outros, your special guest, whatever.
Here is this week's awesome guest.
So you have all of that and you can program it. You even have the ability to switch between different sound decks. If you go into the interface, you can monitor your audio to make sure things are working. You can even bring in things from your phone. A lot of people are doing this with Clubhouse right now, and they're doing their podcast on Clubhouse while interacting with people and having a call-in show. Yeah. So this is how people are doing it. And even with just having people phone in to a Google Voice number or something, they're doing call-in shows in this way. Bluetooth interconnectivity, the ability to directly record and be able to back that up and have that. People are doing this even with their Zoom calls. So, and their Clubhouse calls as well. All of these different benefits and these different features. So this is the power of having an advanced thing like this. The other thing is you can also clean up the audio. You guys have no idea that I have an air condition and a fan running because I live in hot Atlanta. And so you have no idea because this cleans up the audio so well. This cleans up the audio so well that I don't even have to think about it. So I know that the audio quality will be perfect. So that is the benefits of having an audio interface. It's a little bit more money. It's a lot more expensive. Some of you don't have it. I totally get it. This one is $600, but there are things out there that are not quite as advanced as all that, that have similar things. The Go XLR Mini, I think, is about $300. Go XLR is about $450 instead of $600. And I think that there are some things that just improve the audio a little bit, like the Red Scarlet solos and duos, which are about $100, $200. So it really just depends. So the Rode board that I'm using is called the Rodecaster Pro. Christian, you're using that as well, right?
I am, yes. I'm actually using literally the same kit you are.
Yeah. So we're literally we are using what is considered the gold standard of live streaming, but you could get within 80 or 90% of our audio quality and video quality with $130 invested in this, $100 invested in this and the software. or $0 plus, I think, cheap or free software with your iPhone. That's
Definitely,
it.
yeah.
And you could get within 80 or 90% of the highest level of quality that exists for us and all the pros out there, everyone from Pat Flynn to some of your favorite live streamers on Twitch. You can get within 80 or 90% of their same results, spending 80% of the cash.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, and I like the fact that we're driving home the point that you don't need expensive gear to do this.
The thing that expensive gear gives you is the confidence to not second guess anything. I say the same thing about camera gear. Is the reason that I buy expensive camera gear is I never have to guess as to what the quality or the outcome will be. I can work harder with less money and get close. And I'm just may not be 1,000% sure that it's going to work. But the thing that I think offsets some of that, Christian, is software can sometimes pick up the slack.
It can, yes. So that's all you need. So to get started with the podcast, obviously, I mean, to keep people on track here. So that's all you need to get started. So now, what was the next question you had, Roberto, in terms of?
Sure. Let me just take a quick peek.
Creating a podcast.
Yeah. So we know that we know what we need to get started as a podcast. Now, the quick recap is we need the ability to record our podcast, and we've told you how to do that on a budget, and we told you how far you can go.
Okay.
We also know that we need hosting for that podcast. You can do that for free with Anchor. You can do that affordably with things like Captivate, Buzzsprout, or Simplecast. And those are things we've used and paid for, so we can vouch for them and for the benefits and the ease of use. I use Simplecast because it's simple. I like Buzzsprout because it's a forever guarantee on my podcast being hosted forever and outliving me. And then you like Captivate for, what's the secret benefit of Captivate?
Part of it is the number of downloads that I get. And then the other side of it is, they do give you, and most of the podcast hosting companies will give you this, they will actually give you a website for all of your podcast episodes with a player. So you don't have to go spend additional money to set something like that up. The other thing, though, obviously, I mean, to all of this, and I'm going to go back to that ease of use factor that you talked about. It's the fact that I go in there, I can upload my audio file, and I can push it out to all of the platforms at once. I don't have to go submit it to iTunes or Spotify or Amazon Music as a separate thing. I do it one time. I record, I upload, and then it distributes for me. That's
Exactly.
the huge benefit.
Exactly. And that's also one of the other benefits of StreamYard, by the way, is when you want to take that to video, like we were talking about, you have an affordable, if not free outright, but you can always pay for pro. And I recommend that link in the description. You already immediately have the ability to distribute to multiple platforms, do video. And thing is, largely with equipment you might already have, including and up to your smartphone and then an affordable microphone, you already have the ability to, one, have a recorded podcast that the audio, because a lot of you are like, okay, how do I turn the video into audio? With StreamYard, you instantaneously, more or less, have the ability to turn the video into audio. I'm going to see if I can set up a quick test to show you all of that by going into the StreamYard studio here and then just showing you that via my screen. So I'm going to attempt to do that here.
And by the way, while you're doing that, I'm going to answer a couple of questions here. So Albert was asking, which Rode do you have in your gear? So I'm using the Rodecaster Pro. It's literally it's an audio interface, mixing board. Roberto is using the same thing. So I don't know if you want to, I'll
show them that again in a minute.
Yeah,
I want to show them the cool thing audio wise about StreamYard is that we have echo cancellation here. Okay. We can switch things up. We can automatically adjust mic volume and we can control all of that. But if we have a recording, if we have a broadcast recording, if I go to like past broadcast, I could look at one of my past broadcast and I can probably go into download recording. I can download the video from that. But if I were to go in there, I could also download the audio from these things.
Do me a favor. Click on download. Yeah. So basically, what Roberto is demonstrating here is that, so if you're, for example, if you're live streaming and you're like, you know what, I want to turn that live stream into a podcast. So there's a couple different ways you could do this. The first thing is obviously if you've sent this out to, say you've already streamed it to YouTube, and you're like, well, hey, I want to get the audio. How do I go about doing that? So obviously I'd go over to YouTube. There's an option in your YouTube studio to download your video, and then you can typically run it through some of your favorite software. If you're using like Apple QuickTime, for example, you can open the video file, and there's an option to just save the audio. So
and that's all complicated. I have to do so many things. You saw how simple this was. Like, 2 clicks.
Exactly.
2 clicks. Yep. 2 clicks. That's it. Simple.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So it reduces the steps. So instead, what I do is I record my video, for example, here in StreamYard, provided, make sure I obviously check in the settings. There's an option that says, oh, sorry, we'll get to that in a second, actually. You know what? I do my recording, and then when I'm finished, I go in and go to past broadcast. And as Roberto's demonstrating here, I can download the video, so the finished product, and then I can also just get the audio if I want to. So I don't have to go anywhere else to do this.
Exactly. So right then and there. And then also what we showed you before was I went into a test earlier at the beginning of the program and showed you guys that we can do an a record only, where we don't even have to broadcast, and I can just straight up choose to record. And right now you can see that I actually switched to my webcam, because you can see it's a different feed from here. Okay. So I'm using a different source. And I have all of that going on, and that I can go ahead and I can set up all kinds of little different things here. I can choose my microphone. I can choose my camera like I just did. And I can also adjust the volume, echo cancellation. I can do all of those cool things to ensure the quality. I can invite a guest to my program without them ever having to download anything. And it's all done in browser. So this is why this is so amazing. And again, I know that we might seem a little biased here, but that's why, again, StreamYard is such a great tool to just make it simple for you to go into video podcasting, especially if you already have an audio podcast. Yeah. This is how you're going to step into a video podcast very easily. And why you're also, even if you're doing audio, this could improve your audio podcasting workflow by having the video component, having a clean audio, having the ability to invite in guests, and them not having to do a lot of work on their side. Yeah. And then you've got a great experience.
The other thing I really like about this is, for example, if you're somebody who struggles with getting episodes recorded of just the audio, for example, when you move into video, you can actually take those video episodes and they can actually become audio podcast episodes. So, you don't have to just stick to like, okay, this is my audio podcast, these are my videos, and they're going to be totally different. If they're part of your business, you're positioning them under the same brand, why not repurpose those videos into an audio podcast episode? And then this way you're not having to, like, okay, I got to record an audio podcast and I got to go record a video. You can actually do them both simultaneously. To me, that's a huge win. And I love the idea, Roberto, about just workflow, because you want to make this easy on yourself. And, it's already a lot of work if you've got to go like, oh, I got to go get my guests together. And then, oh, I have to now go like record this. And then I'm finished. I got to edit it. And then, I got to do all this other stuff. And, oh, I got the other video project. There's too much stuff going on. You got to keep it super simple and streamlined.
Exactly. So we have a couple of questions here. They asked if we're using the Atom in our setup. And yes, in fact, with me specifically, and I can just actually switch my output here. You can actually see on my desk that I am using the Atom Mini right over here. Yeah. And that's actually how I'm switching to showing you the Atom Mini, my Elgato Stream Deck, and then of course my Rodecaster Pro setup here. So that's literally how we're doing this in real time. And I'm just then doing everything manually here from my absurd command center. So Albert, great question. And I hope that answers that for you.
Yeah, that's a really good question. By the way, how are you doing the zooming there? That was pretty cool.
Oh, because I'm using a 24 to 70 millimeter lens.
Okay, got it.
And so since it's at my side and it's in arm's reach, it's just like right there.
Okay, very cool.
Which is again another absurd thing, because that's another investment. That's like hella glass.
Yeah. So here's the thing: you don't need. So answering Albert's question about the ATEM, Roberto's using it to do various camera switching. Right now, mine's just powering my my camera actually. So it does. Here's the thing: talking about streamlining, it actually eliminates the need to have an Elgato Cam Link and an ATEM Mini, because your camera goes directly into the ATEM Mini, and that actually will do the converting that it needs. So you don't have to have a Cam Link 4K basically.
Yeah, I also have a weird use case for the ATEM Mini. So if I switch over to feed 4,
sure,
it's actually a feed of my iPhone. So the thing is, this is perfect for like Clubhouse stuff. So like I literally can just do that, and it's like, or also even for demo purposes for recording. So like recording on my phone, if I want to do a screen recording of my phone and do a real-time demo of an app, I have the ability to do that, whether I'm live streaming or not. I usually would not doing that during live streams, just because that could go sideways very easily, and you can get a phone call, you can get interrupted. There's any number of things. You can get an alert, you can get a pop-up. So the thing is, for screen recording though, for training or tutorial purposes, it's a really cool little hack. There's other ways to do it. You can obviously mirror your screen. Someone was asking, can you use Mirror to share with Apple? If you're an Apple user and you're using that ecosystem, yes. There's also ways to do it with Android and Google as well. There's an app that I'm familiar with called, it's called
Reflector.
Yes, that's it. Reflector 4. That's one of the better ones. It's easier to use. I've used that for tutorials that I've done. Especially like tutorials of like showing people Instagram stuff, like how to do certain features in Instagram. So really cool. You don't have to, you can build. The good thing about like streaming and podcasting is once you solve the broadcast side of it, in terms of your hosting for your podcast, or then your live capabilities with Streamyard, which we're using right now to stream to my Facebook group for coaching, Awesome Creator Academy. We're streaming to my Facebook fan page. We're streaming to my LinkedIn Live. We're streaming on the YouTube channel for Streamyard, and we're streaming in Twitter right now. Like we're doing that all simultaneously in terms of broadcast. We have the ability to do that, the ability to download a clean feed of this, both for audio and video. And we could invite guests to join us, and we can have, what is it, up to, I think, 10?
Yeah, you could have 10, up to 10, on screen.
Up to 10 people right now. And so that's just amazing. That's incredible. And it's all browser based, nothing to download. So that's just what I think is cool.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And, I like the fact that like you were mentioning, like making it easier. I will say the other thing also to think about. So if you're, for example, if you're wanting to start a podcast, like it's all about setting up systems. So, setting up systems to do things. So for example, if you want to record a podcast, you set up a system. Your system, for example, like I'll tell you what my system is. My system is this. So let's say Roberto and I were recording a podcast. This is how I work. So I open StreamYard. I send Roberto the link. He comes in just like he does right now. Here we are directly in the broadcast. Now, at this point, we have a couple of options. If we decide we want to, stream it live and show all of the, and show all the like ums and the uhs and all the other stuff that, like may happen during that interview, live streaming, it's out there, right? But then the other side that we're doing behind, afterwards is if we decide, well, hey, you know what? I don't want to actually stream this out. There's the record only feature that Roberto mentioned. And so I have two options there right now. So for my system, I can say, okay, I want to do an interview and a podcast. I can stream the interview, and afterwards we can strip the audio from the interview directly in StreamYard by clicking the download option right after it's finished, and you'll have your audio. On the flip side of that, if Roberto and I just wanted to record an interview for a podcast or just record an episode, what I would normally do is I would do exactly this. You all just wouldn't see this on the web. We'd be behind the scenes in the dashboard recording it. And then I do the same process. I save the audio, and then now I have a separate audio file and I have a separate video file. And my video, for example, I can edit it. I can turn it into different things. So that is my system for recording a podcast. Now, the other thing though that I do, so once I download that file, I run it through, like, for example, I use a program called Audacity for my editing, but you can use GarageBand. I think Reaper is another one, I think.
And Audacity is free, by the way.
Yeah.
Audacity is free. I use Adobe Audition. A lot of people use GarageBand if they're an Apple, which that would come with their Apple stuff. So they're not even paying for that. It's good quality.
and I download all my audio from StreamYard. I put it into my editing software. Typically, I'm not going to actually have to do much editing on it, but maybe I want to tack on an intro or an outro in Audacity. And then when I'm finished, I export the file. And then the other thing I do is I run it through a program called AUPHONIC. And what that basically does is this. So it takes our audio levels that we're recording at in StreamYard. And then when we're finished, we put the audio file in and it brings the levels up to where they're at the same.
So it's matching, it's level matching. And that's called
LUFS, I think.
The software is called
AUPHONIC. Sorry, AUPHONIC. AUPHONIC.
AUPHONIC. Okay. Remind me at the end of the stream for us to
Sure.
link that as a tool and a resource in the description.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I do. So I run it through. I record in StreamYard, for example. Roberto and I record. I download after the broadcast. I go over to Audacity. I might make a few edits here and there. Chances are I don't do much. I then export that. I go into AUPHONIC. I normalize the volume. And when I'm finished, I export it. And now I have my finished file. And guess what? It goes right over to my host. And that's all I have to do. I don't have to now, I don't have to spend a ton of time on the editing because I'm doing it in real time, and in terms of like everything else is associated with it. I mean, it works. It's a very simple system. And now I have a podcast recording.
Boom. There you go. That's like a simple system. And I love simple systems. I love solutions. I mean, it's part of why I ended up with StreamYard. I mean, like, I'm not above looking like, a dummy on, I blew $1,000 on software that didn't do what I need. And there's a simpler thing that cost me $20 a month. Like, I'm not too proud to say that. And it just really came down to that for me. It came down to me using very expensive, something that I thought, because pros use this must be perfect. And it's not always the case. That's not always the case. And I told you guys, I have $1,000 plus worth of audio running through this thing, and you can get within 80 or 90% of what I have audio wise. And I've seen people do this. I have people in my own membership who do this with just $130 worth of the same microphone, like this different microphone, $130. You get within 80, 90% of what I spent $1,000 on.
Yeah. By the way, one other thing I want to mention real quick. So we talked about us recording, like just you and I recording a podcast, right? So let's say we wanted to have a third person, for example, come in and also be on our podcast. So here's another, and this is a StreamYard Pro feature. There's a feature where you can record individual audio tracks. And so, for example, let's say it's Roberto, myself, and then let's say Albert was one of our guests. So what we'd want to do, and let me see if you can share your screen. So if you go into Cam Mic settings,
give me 1 second. I'm going to go and I can put that up on screen here.
Awesome.
Wait a minute. Oops. Okay. Let's go through this. So do I have to be in live mode or do I have to be in, or can I do it in record mode?
I always do it inside of a broadcast. So I go in so click on Enter Studio for like test maybe.
Okay. But this one's a recording.
That's
like
fine.
a record only. That's still fine.
Yeah,
okay.
That's fine. Yeah. We're basically the thing we have to do here. So if you're somebody who wants to have more than 2 guests on, for example, or let's just say more than one person on, and you want to get those individual audio tracks because you do want to repurpose those into sound bites or any of that kind of stuff. So you should be able to go into, let me see if I can find the setting actually. Let's go. Yeah, let's actually click into the broadcast first. Actually, let's see if you can get in the broadcast.
Okay, let me go back here.
So 1 second. Let me actually get my dashboard pulled up.
Okay.
I go into the dashboard and then you have to enable. There's an option you're going to have to enable in your account if you have StreamYard Pro.
Okay. Well, I have Pro, and so on the back end here, I'm going to go into settings. I'm going to see if I can set that up so that we can show them.
Yeah, sure.
Is there something I need to do? Huh?
There's literally just going to be a checkbox actually. So let me just find where it's at.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to go into the studio and then let's see, where did it go? Actually, okay. So go into the broadcast. So let's pull up a standard broadcast.
Okay.
And we'll actually go into the broadcast itself. Go into the test, for example. That's fine. Just go into test. Yeah. So then once we're in this broadcast, we're going to go to the setting at the bottom. So enter studio. Nope, go enter studio.
Okay.
And then go to cam mic. And then now if you go under general, there's
record
yes.
separate audio file for each guest. That is awesome. I love that.
And so what that's going to do is, for example, let's say it's myself, Roberto. Let's say we have Albert come on. When we check that, and then we obviously start our broadcast, whether it's streamed out, whether it is a record only option, basically what that's going to do when we download the finished file, if I'm on screen and Roberto's on screen and then Albert comes in, for example, it's going to create all the individual tracks so that afterwards you're going to be able to download those files.
And so that means if people have different microphones and different microphone quality, they're not like samesies, they're not twins like me and Christian here and everything like that. We're audio setup twins. We're like, or we're even stream setup twins, you know?
Yeah.
We're live streaming twins here. So if you don't have that going on and you want the quality to feel similar, you would need the separate audio files. And this is easier than asking your friend to record on their end and hope that it works and send it to you and all that. Nope. All that nonsense is eliminated completely. Yeah. And you just have this, and then you could run it through AUPHONIC or whatever you have, or bring it into Adobe Audition or into Audacity if you want to do those things manually. And you can either clean it up, get it matching audio levels, clean up background noise, do whatever you want to the separate audio files to make them comparable. So I think that that's amazing. And it's built into Streamyard. And again, not to put you on the spot, but it's like, is there any chance in the future, not to put you, but is there any chance in the future of us getting this same feature for our video files when we have guests on?
That's a really good question, actually. I don't know the answer to that one, but I love the idea of that. Because, you know, right now, for example, you get, like, if you're going to export the full audio, i.e. the mix of Roberto, myself, Albert, for example, it's going to export it right now as an MP3 at 128 kbps bitrate. And then if you're on the Pro Count, obviously with the individual tracks, you're going to get a wave option as well. So you're going to get that higher quality. So maybe, I think I would assume
if with a pro feature or even an upgraded feature, if I could get, because I could see that being pro only, especially on the video side, or even there being an upgrade.
Right.
Because the thing is, for video, for podcast and for guest, I could see the value of that, because as someone who wants to do more advanced stuff, I could use that. And then my editor for my video podcast, for when I do my higher level interviews instead of a live, because for some of my higher level interviews, like my friend Sarah Dici, or with Gerald Undone, or some other people that I might interview here in the future.
Yeah.
I've had to use other means, or even have them send me the video feed from their camera, record it, so that I have that other the cleanest version of the audio to cut to without any branding or anything. And the thing that'd be dope is if with StreamYard, I could just go ahead and get the video source file of their own individual video feed and have that, because then for a clip show or for an edited interview, my editor can go through that and switch between a close up on me, close up on them. Like if we want a close up when they laugh or all of that, even if we were side by side this entire time, I'd have the option of saying, all right, give me the regular video download file, or give me also the option for each individual video feed. But I would have to decide up front if I want that recorded separately at the beginning, because not everyone would want that. So that'd be a dope pro feature. So that's like kind of my nugget or hint tip to you guys of like, hey, this is how you take this to the next level. Because once you do that, StreamYard eliminates the need for almost anything else.
Oh yeah, no, and as I mentioned, it's all about systems. So like, you don't have to go into all these different pieces of software. You don't have to run it here and then go over here and then go over here and do things. You're doing everything all at once, you know. And I'm seeing some really great comments, by the way. I mean, just from a few people here.
Yeah, let me plop one up. What's one of the great comments we got?
Let me actually read through these. So, we got a question from Bill. Actually, Bill was asking if the Rodecaster will split all their channels, their audio, video recorded channels.
The Rodecaster will split the audio. The Rodecaster does not split up your video recorded channel. So that's kind of what we were talking about with how StreamYard might be able in the future to help us with that from a software side. I use a lot of the Rodecaster for a lot of hardware things.
Yeah.
Some of them StreamYard actually just addressed even if you guys don't have it. So that'd be the benefit.
Right.
Same thing with the software from the Elgato side or even the Logitech side. There's software with very affordable hardware that for a lot of you would eliminate at least the upfront need to buy very expensive hardware. So we can make this all affordable and accessible to you. That's why I like things and solutions like StreamYard. That's why I like that Elgato makes companion software to augment affordable hardware for people. Yes. And the same thing for Logitech as a brand. Neither of them are sponsoring this video.
Yeah. And, and I love the point that you're making there. I mean, the fact that, yes, you can go and you can buy that $600 audio interface mixer. But if you're just getting started, for example, it's something else you got to learn. It's also like, it's another thing. Then you got to figure out, okay, now I got to make $600 back in my business. For example, if I already spent the money on that hardware. And the thing is, you don't have to have that. That's the key point I want to drive home. You do not have to have that to be able to do that. You can do it all within StreamYard. So you're already, doing your live streams, for example, you can go the other way and say, hey, I'm going to make a podcast. So there's nothing stopping you from making a podcast. You got to pay for hosting or use a free solution. That's it. And it's pretty amazing. There's also, and I do want to go back to your comment, by the way, about the like the microphones that have software built into them. So Albert had a question and he was asking about loopback.
Loopback. I think I see it.
There's no need for you to use loopback with your setup, correct? I tried the trial version. It worked. Looking for better options for PC Mac environment.
So the thing is, depending on, like, I'm not as familiar with loopback, to be very honest with you.
Okay.
But based on what we've said, I believe that we'd be making it redundant with the features and the things that we talked about that are accessible. You wouldn't necessarily need it.
Yeah. So if you're on the PC side, you can use the alternative. There would be Voicemeeter. And I think that's a free option. I think there's some donation options on that. So there's Voicemeeter. That's the PC side. Does not work on a Mac. There's also on the Mac side, there's Loopback, paid option. You can also look at, I think it's Sound Siphon, Black Hole. Those are some other ones. Some of those are freeware. Some of them are a little bit less expensive than Loopback. But it's going to go back to what Roberto and I were talking about earlier. It's the fact that when you're looking for a solution, it doesn't mean you have to go buy the most expensive thing, but the most expensive thing gives you some of that comfort. So for example, the hardware side.
Yeah. If I'm going to buy expensive things, I'd actually rather it be tangible physical hardware because there's like a material use there. And a lot of times you can supplement, the most expensive software isn't always the best software. Again, I've tried a professional live streaming broadcast solution and StreamYard wrecked it. It made it meaningless to have. Like, I might as well uninstall it at this point. Like, it's there's no point in me having that $1,000 license anymore because there's a better solution, and the pro version of the better solution that does more and is easier to use and simpler is $20 a month. Like, and even just free, it would still be better. That's why before I ever hooked up with the StreamYard crew, and you already know this, Christian, I'm still a paying customer. I'm still a paid customer. So I have been paying for StreamYard this entire time, and I was paying for it like before I hooked up with y'all, and I'm still paying for it even though I hooked up with y'all. So, but it's that I believe in it that much, though. I believe in it that much, and I would rather have something that works than the prestige of just buying something expensive. A lot of times, I'd rather have something affordable that works. Like I said, if I were starting today. Because at the time, the Elgato Wave 3 did not exist when I really got into any of this and podcasting and live streaming and Twitch and any of it. So the Elgato Wave didn't exist. By the way, I bought the Rodecaster Pro and it was 3 months before I even started really using it because it was just that hard to learn and intimidating to learn at first for me, and I'm a tech guy. So like to even use the most expensive stuff and to use my Shure SMB and my Rodecaster and even my Cloud Lifter. Like I couldn't even get my Cloud Lifter to work. I kept thinking that I spent $100 on this thing and it wasn't working and everything like that. And then, someone had to help me figure it out. Meanwhile, I could have gotten 90% of the same solution at 80% of the cost at $130, learned much simpler software and been done with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that there's a lesson to all of you and everything. I love what the Rodecaster Pro does, but I could have used a certain configuration of the Elgato Wave 3, the software that comes with it, and even a Stream Deck. My soundboard, I could have done my soundboard on a Stream Deck for $150 instead of a Rodecaster for $650.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
So I hope let that be a lesson to all y'all. Don't go burning money like Roberto. Like, you don't have to. You can, but why would you? If you can get 80 or 90% of the same solution as me in terms of quality for 80 to 90% of the cost, you should probably start there. Like, that's a good way to, don't be intimidated by the fact that you see the pros have all of these things. You can get 80, 90% of the way, and it will be a fraction of the cost.
And, by the way, I got a couple of, I want to bring up Bill's comment here, by the way, between StreamYard, the ATEM, and the Rodecaster Pro. Great comment, by the way. Going back to like your comment also, by the way, about like getting hardware. So the other thing also to kind of consider about this is, okay, so what's my environment going to be like as well? Am I going to be portable? Because, when you go with some of that hardware, it's great hardware, but the thing is, it can be portable, but it's not really portable. In this case, Roberto's got it on his desk. It takes up it's not a huge product, but it takes up a sizable chunk of your desk.
This desk, by the way, this is like a full size desk that accommodates a 49-inch widescreen monitor. Like, this desk has a 48-inch widescreen monitor and has a it has everything on it, right? And so you can see though that for everything it has on it, let me just let that autofocus for you. Look at this. This is the Rodecaster, and this takes up like a third of the desk real estate on the left here. And then I've got the Stream Deck, which will do about roughly 70% of what the Rode will do. And look at the footprint it is on the desk by comparison. And then the Atom Mini does all the video stuff here, and it's a much smaller footprint. The Stream Deck and the Atom Mini are a portable solution right then and there.
Yeah.
This microphone is a USB microphone and is super portable, super easy, because all you have to do is literally plug into that and you're done. It's over. So literally, I could reduce most of my stuff to theoretically, even with the advanced setup of the switcher for the Atom Mini, to even make even that portable. But I'd have to cut this out of the equation, which is why in theory, there's something with like a third of the footprint of this called the Go XLR Mini. And I think Rodecaster might be working on a Pro Mini. I think they might be shrinking this down and getting a Pro Mini thing. But you just have to even think about your environment and how comfortable you are to do all of this, have a keyboard and everything like that. So even in terms of physical desk space, do all of this, Christian. It's like, look at in terms of physical desk space, what I have to have in terms of that real estate and comfort to be able to, here's my keyboard, here's this and everything like that, not knock anything over or use a different monitor audio arm and to be able to do things. It's like, this is a lot for somebody to have going on and to know how to use it and to be physically comfortable with it and have that real estate. So I just kind of want to put that out there that it's more practical for most people to have smaller footprint software solutions and to do stuff like have a USB microphone, because that's going to be more portable than XLR setup.
Yeah.
And you can get pretty close on quality. Stream Deck, and then the most extreme version, you could in theory add an Atom Mini to that equation, and then you would at least still be portable. You could throw that in a reasonable camera bag and not break your back or the bank. If you go at least that route, and you already have a camera because maybe you're a YouTuber or a photographer, or again, you could reduce all of that footprint and you could mostly use StreamYard, theoretically a Stream Deck, and you could use your phone as a webcam, get a good USB microphone, and that would be it. And you literally could fit that in like a purse and be done with it. Laptop, purse, done. Laptop, shoulder sling, done. and you still would have a quality live streaming setup that's on par with about 80% of what a pro has.
Definitely. Yeah. And, kind of to like just elaborate on some of that. So, for example, the reason I brought up that hardware was because, not everybody's fortunate to have a desk for an office, for example, to work in. So, if you don't have a desk, then, you need something that can be moved around relatively like easy. And so in this case, that Elgato Wavelink, for example, by the way, I saw that comment.
Yeah. Podcast in a purse.
Great thing about the Elgato Wavelink is, it's nice and portable. So for example, if you have a smartphone, everybody for the most part has a smartphone, you can just use that as your camera. So all you need to do is get a tripod, put your phone on that tripod, get it right in front of you. That hooks into your computer. And then that can be your video source, your camera source for StreamYard, for example. And then for the audio, you plug in the Elgato Wavelink directly into your computer, and you don't have to have that huge desk area to work from. Instead, you can work right there in a nice consolidated package. It can be comfortable because the thing is, as you add more items, it complicates your process. And the thing is, you want to make sure that it is an easy process. In this case, recording a podcast should be very simple. All I need is a microphone for the most part and a camera. So I can see, for example, Roberto. And then I load up my software. I don't have to download anything. It's all through the browser. And then he and I can be recording a podcast like that. So it's about speed. It's about being efficient with how you work. So you don't necessarily need that. And then think about it like this. Okay, so that's how I do the audio podcast side. We went to a video. We got the camera already ready. The audio is ready to go. All we got to do is record in StreamYard, set up our system, run it through the system for your podcast. Hosting, download the file. When you're finished in StreamYard, run it through Audacity to do a little bit of cleanup if you need to, run it through AUPHONIC to get your final product. And you now have your audio file and your video file is already out on the web. So you got so many options there. I mean, and I know, Roberto, I think we had a couple other questions, right? That we wanted to.
Sure, let's take them.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Where do you want to start?
What do you think is an interesting question we haven't already answered?
Let's talk about the angle of optimization.
Okay.
So video podcast optimization. So
yeah,
we talked about obviously how to do an audio podcast. Obviously the video side is you literally just turn the camera on. You can do that in StreamYard, whether that's the record only feature or multi-streaming. For those of you who are going to be pushing a video out, whether it is a streamed video or a recorded video that you download, you optimize, and then you put it out on, say, a YouTube channel, you are going to want to make sure you optimize those. And this doesn't just apply to the video side, but it also applies to the audio side for your podcast. So if you're going to do an audio podcast or a video podcast, you're going to have, for starters, a focus. What's that episode going to be about?
Exactly. If you have a guest, I recommend, if your guest is somebody that's known and they have an audience, to lead with the name of your guest in the title of that episode, because that is going to be the added value of traffic. It's going to be the best for the search engine because that guest is themselves the topic in a way. So they're like another part of the topic. So I would lead with the name of your guest. My friend Sarah Dici, for her podcast, That Creative Life, is very good at that. Logan Paul with Impulsive, he'll lead with the name of his guest and then the most outrageous thing they said or did in the episode, or their story or whatever it is. Like when he had Jordan Belfort on or what have you. So there's things like that. The other thing is thinking about the category that your podcast belongs on when you're launching it. You should do some research, look in Apple Podcasts and see what categories already exist for podcast. Look at the shows that you think are similar to the show that you're making, and then choose your categories even according to that, so that you might show up like, oh, listeners of this also listen to, so you want to think about that. On the YouTube video side, if you're doing YouTube specifically, then you want to use an optimization tool. TubeBuddy is who we would recommend and what we use for everything. Obviously I'm part of the TubeBuddy crew and part of the StreamYard gang. So it's, grain of salt. You can look at that. Hey, I don't mind if you use vidIQ. I use vidIQ too, and they've been a sponsor of me as well. Everybody is sponsored Roberto, so he's completely unbiased. So that's a funny joke, but tongue in cheek, but kind of is, because I actually do use everything. One, I want to be educated about everything. Two, everything has a different use case. And so you can use either of those tools to optimize. You want another great tool that isn't sponsoring Roberto? Keywords Anywhere is a great optimization tool for blogging, podcast, YouTube, all of it. Keywords Anywhere is fantastic. You want to look at what topics are on people's mind? There's a free tool called Exploding Topics. There are 2 free tools that cost $0 out there that are not sponsoring Roberto, and he doesn't have an affiliate link for them. So, I just want to throw those out there for you guys. And that will help you.
No, definitely. Yeah. And so yeah, you got to come up with the title. Like you got to focus on the content first. I mean, that's the key thing. That going back to what Roberto said, you don't have to have expensive gear. It's all about the content, the message. So, start with an idea of what your topic is going to be about, your episode.
Yeah. And you can also ask people. You can Google Trends is another one.
Answer the Public, I think, even is one.
Yes, Answer the Public.
You can even just use Google, actually, straight up Google. And,
yes.
Here's the thing. At the top of Google, they have this like accordion style that'll pop up. And for example, those are questions that they pull out of content, whether it's written content, video content, audio content, etc. But you start with a topic, and then that topic, for example, here's your topic. It's either you're going to use the title for the podcast, the title for the video side, the descriptions. You're going to have the right, description optimized, obviously. And then you're going to put tags in. Tags, for example, on YouTube, those are going to be related to the video that somebody's watching. On a podcast as well, they do have tags as well that they actually include as well. They're not as important, but they do help. So
I think that whenever we talk about tags, just remember, everyone, that tags are not for the purposes of you getting views. That's why people think tags don't work. Tags are not meant for the purposes of you getting views. It's for the purposes of you being categorized for the right audience in the first place, in terms of who your thing gets put in front of, in terms of an opportunity, is based on classification. Meaning, if I'm an audience member who likes this, we need to be able to identify what this is. If you start thinking about classification being the purpose of keywords, instead of the keywords being, keywords are here to get me views. Keywords are here to get me views. No, keywords are here to explain what something is, so that when I decide what I want, it can match me to what I actually want by understanding what something is. Yeah. That is part of how we will do another video or live stream, or I'll do something about the purpose of that, whether it's here on my channel or Streamyard or both. But I just want to put that out there for you all, because whether you're doing a blog, whether you're doing a podcast, or whether you're doing YouTube videos, if I teach you anything about keywords and what their purpose is, if you realize that the purpose of keywords is to put cereal on the cereal aisle, and to put carrots in the vegetable bin, and to put meat and poultry over in the deli, then it all becomes clear magically what the purpose of these tools actually are.
Yeah. And here's the thing. This is something that you need to do on every single live stream you do. So if you're doing a live stream or you're doing a podcast, you need to spend the time writing these things up for every single episode. And, one thing I like to do, I mean, right now, Roberto sent me some, notes in Google Docs, but I use Google Docs for example, writing out every single episode. So I've got a title, I've got a short intro that I write out, and it's something that over time, the more you do this, the more it becomes second nature. And then I have a short description. And then I've got, that's my show notes. And then I've got keywords or tags that are going out for each thing.
Yes. So Coffee Talk has a question that I think leads into that. And then we're going to start to finish a few of our other main core questions for this that we haven't covered. And then we'll wrap up. But I do want to address this because I think that it's relevant to anybody that's in the Streamyard gang and that's watching. Is Coffee Talk and Tech ask, does YouTube hurt you if you retag, say, a week after you release a video? So the thing is, your interpretation of YouTube hurting you is you getting less views. And the thing is, that's not YouTube in terms of less views. You'd have to start look at, are my impressions dropping abnormally from when I did this versus when I did that? And the thing is, your impressions are determined based on demand and also classification. So again, this is more complicated than yes or no. Because the thing is, we have to define, this is my entire point about defining what things are. Let's define what a creator interprets as YouTube hurting or punishing them, which YouTube does neither of those things in most cases. It's a matter of cause and effect, but also correlation, not the same thing as cause. Again, this is where it starts to feel complicated. I'm going to try and simplify it for you. If you make a change and then you get a positive result, you will feel that you're rewarded for the change that you made. If you make a change and then you get what you interpret to be a negative result, then you feel that you're being hurt or punished for the changes that you made. The thing is, you could be rewarded and get more, or you can have less things happen, even if you didn't make any kind of change. So the thing is, you're attributing what you did to the reason that something did or didn't happen. In most cases, you can't even be 1000% sure of that because things outside of what you did are happening. So that's the first thing to start to realize as a content creator is sometimes results are independent of your own action. You need to actually think about the things that are only determined by your action. And most of that just comes down to hitting the publish button. After that, it's let go and let God. But the thing that so everything up until publish is in your control. What happens after publish is largely out of your control. And so when you try to make changes, when you change the tags, you're reclassifying the video. If you're reclassifying the video, then that means that impressions wise, it's being served to a different audience. Mm-hmm. That audience could be larger or smaller, and your content could be more or less relevant to them because you're now changing the intent, but you haven't changed the actual product. You literally just took your product and said, will this cereal perform better if I somehow take it out of the cereal aisle? It's still cereal, but now you decide I'm taking it out of the cereal aisle and I'm putting it somewhere else in the store and just seeing if I sell more of it. That's not always the right thing to do, but you're just trying to change an outcome. In some way, you're trying to artificially change an outcome. But the thing is, the content is what it is. Now, if you think that you had cereal and then you had accidentally put cereal just where a lot of other boxed food happens to be, and then you said, wait a minute, I put this just where a bunch of different boxed food is because it's boxed food, but this is actually cereal. This belongs on the cereal aisle. Then that is obviously going to be better in most cases. So you see what I'm saying? Correctly classifying your video, properly explaining what your video is always the answer. If you're trying to change the result by artificially saying, oh, this video isn't really about this, it's about that, then you probably aren't going to get better results. And even if you got more views, but you get less watch time out of those views, the video is going to perform, is going to be distributed to less people over time because then it's being thought of as clickbait. So even more views isn't always the answer, even if it feels validating or satisfying to you, or that, oh, that's the right thing to do. Because the thing is, people have to believe that the content was what they were promised. So when you're trying to do tags in the first place, just remember that you're properly identifying how to explain that what you promised in your title and in your thumbnail, and in theory, your description, your tags are just a verification that your title and thumbnail were not tricking people, and that this is what this is, and this is what the intent of this video is. And your transcript is going to do that too. Your captions, your auto captions or closed captions are going to do that too. But also what's going to verify that for YouTube is how many people watch this video from the beginning to the end? How many other things tell us that people got this video, saw what this video was, and said, yup, you didn't lie to me. And the drop off in the first 30 seconds is like the largest indicator I feel that YouTube uses to determine that you didn't lie in your title, your thumbnail, your descriptions, and your tags. Because if people leave 30 seconds in, it usually means that you are not delivering on your promise, or you're not doing a very good job of communicating what something is. And for those reasons, I'm out. Like, that's viewer satisfaction. YouTube now is all about viewer satisfaction. It used to be about watch time a little while ago. Before that, it used to be about click-through rate. Before that, it used to be about view rate. And now it's all about viewer satisfaction. It's all about promise made, promise kept. How do you feel about that, Christian, the way I explained that one?
I think it's an excellent answer. I mean, I think that Coffee Talk and Tech here also says, wow, like deep answer and a good one. I 100% agree. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think, again, I mean, it's almost like a guarantee you give your audience. So like if you tell them, this is what I'm about, and then you try to move the goalpost, like YouTube doesn't like that, obviously. So it's just being, just being upfront and honest, like with your viewer, like what's your content about, and then making that kind of content really good content. So, do that. And then that's going to get people to also trust you more. So then they're going to likely stick around in your videos versus if they watch one of your videos or, one of your live streams, they're predisposed to how you operate. So then they may say, well, oh, I'm not going to watch any of their videos again because I didn't like the first experience I had or the second experience.
Exactly. Christian, let's
Yeah,
take
sure.
this one from Angelique. I love this one about dealing with awkward interviews. And then after this, we'll talk specifically about some of the benefits of live streaming your podcast or filming
Okay.
live to tape. And then
Okay.
we'll just wrap this up because I definitely want to respect your time. And
Okay.
at some point, I have to eat something.
Yes. So this is a good question. Okay. So don't know if you cover this, but what about dealing with awkward interviews when live? How do you deal with things? Do you remove it and edit? Do you let it ride? Do you have strategies for steering conversations? So my first thing is I always set up a Google. I'm going to say this again. I set up a Google Doc. I have my questions already ready to go, and I make sure I give those to my guests beforehand. Now, if they're coming on my show, I want to make sure that they're prepped, because remember, whoever you have on your show, it represents you. So, for example, if your show is, if you've got bad guests on and like they've never prepped, or, they're just really kind of awkward on camera, maybe you should know that before you actually bring them on. So if, for example, if you have somebody on and, like say they didn't do the prep on the questions, I'll have them on, but then I may not have them on again, because again, that hurts the value of your show. In terms of whether I edit that sort of thing out, I make a judgment call. If it feels like there are a lot of awkward pauses and ums and uhs and all of that kind of stuff, then I probably will edit that out. But I also have to look at my time. So if this is a 1 hour show that I'm doing and I have to go back, it's not just 1 hour, it's 1 hour. And then it's a whole nother hour plus of editing, for example. Is that worth my time? Chances are there may be very little return on investment there for fixing that one episode. We make it a lot more of an issue, I think, than it really needs to be. But it starts by having a strategy in place for your interview. So, for example, having structure. Roberto and I knew what the topic was when we came in. We had some questions already lined up so that the guest, for example, is not flat-footed with some of those questions. And then, we make sure that we steer those questions.
We're also both experienced streamers and subject matter experts. And we've both done interviews before, which means that our ability, and we've interacted before. So again, our ability to generate rapport is going to be at a higher level. One of the things they could do, Christian, is you could have, as long as it respects someone's time, more than 20 or 30 minutes, not only for tech, but also to build rapport.
Yeah.
So instead of just a tech check and a tech call, you could also simultaneously turn that into rapport if you have never interacted with that person live before.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing also I like to do is I like to schedule 20 to like, I might say, okay, you know what? Our podcast episode is going to be 30 minutes long. So we set the, here's the start, here's the end. It's going to be 30 minutes long. However, we book out an hour. And the reason we book out an hour is so that we can build in some of this stuff. So we can have those conversations beforehand, make sure they're clear on any questions. So that way they don't get, a question that really doesn't fit them. So that's typically how I would handle that, Angelique.
Ask about boundaries up front. And then if you do it live and there is something that's awkward, that's not flattering to them, always try to be respectful of your guest and guest in general by like showing them in a favorable light. It's not about you hiding anything or being dishonest. Understand if you have a skeptical or negative audience about the filter of that perception. Also, make the assumption that there will be people who watch the live in completion, or that people might even go and clip the live show themselves. So again, make sure you have an answer for the understanding of how you respect guests and saying, look, that thing exists and we didn't remove it from the full live experience, however, but we're not putting that into the clip show or into our edited audio show or what have you. It exists out there for people who had that experience and who know, but we respect our guest by making a judgment call of how we present them. and we try to, be kind to them, but we're not hiding anything. Would be one. That'd be one of those. It sounds like a very PR type response. And my version of how you deal with people who say, well, that sounds a very contrived PR response and everything like that. I'm like, are you going full zits on a date or not? You going full zits on a date? You going unironed on a date? You going wrinkled on a date? Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, and again, I'm a little sarcastic and snarky about that, but it's like, if people are out here trying to pretend that they're not trying to present themselves in the best and most flattering light, I double dare them to go and show up wrinkled and roll out of bed to a date and see how it goes. That's, and it's like, because then it's the only reasonable answer to that is that's fair or touche. So there's that. Be kind to your guest, present them in a flattering light while not hiding anything. And if you're asked to account for that, you just tell it like it is. You just tell them that, hey, the record exists and the thing exists, but we don't have to highlight that, and we don't think that it's tactful or kind to do that, and we want to be respectful to our guest.
Definitely. By the way, that's a great question from Angelique. There's also a very similar question from BK42. I don't know if you want to pull that one up.
Sure. Is it this one here?
Yes, actually. So BK42 is asking, I run a weekly live podcast with random guests. They usually connect with mobile phones, and audio isn't always great. Is there a project for adding audio filters? So I would say this, the first thing is, and feel free to weigh in on this as well, Roberto. So if you are going to do a podcast and you're going to have somebody or even a live stream, and somebody's going to call in on mobile, first thing I would always recommend, they need to wear headphones. So get them wearing headphones, because, for example, the microphone on your smartphone is not actually very good. And so when you're just recording it open with no headphones, it's picking up every little thing around you. And so make sure they have headphones. That's another thing, though. If your guest doesn't have headphones, for example, make sure you check with them beforehand. Send them a pair of headphones, for example. Build some goodwill with that guest. So I'd recommend getting some headphones for them, and then making sure they have good quality internet, because you have to remember, when live streaming or even recording your podcast, you want to make sure that you have the best audio quality that you possibly can.
And remember, StreamYard can help a little bit with that. That's why I'm showing it here on the screen. Is it has a few things. It can't carry them. But automatically adjusting mic volume, removing echo cancellation. There's, those things are there for you to help with StreamYard. For people who are doing high level streaming, like you said, there are a lot of people who I actually know who send, and there's like you have to sign for it, and there's a release, and there's a thing so that like no one steals it from you. But there are people I know who literally send basically a briefcase. They basically send a streaming kit to their guest to say, your thing has to look like my thing, and that's how it is. And they send it to their, but this is like higher profile interviews and things like that. Or there are people who will not have you on their show if your quality is not at a specific certain level. So, and again, that could sound standoffish, but we've also shown you how to take your quality to a high level on a budget. And so it's not unreasonable for someone to say, hey, I want my show to be how my show is. There are standards, and that's how it is. And that might be how you choose to run your show. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. What I would say, by the way, I don't know that audio filters in StreamYard would be the answer to just getting someone else to a higher level of quality.
Right.
I feel that if you're going to have random guests, you're going to have inconsistent quality.
Yeah. The side of that I think I would focus on. So, for example, while you can add certain types of filters, like to your computer, for example, that filter out background noise, like there's software out there that will do that. I will tell you, when you do use it in conjunction with other things you're doing, you are going to get potentially very off sounding audio
distortion.
You're going to get distortion. It's not going to sound authentic. I don't say authentic. It's not going to sound real. It's going to sound it's going to sound
manufactured. It's going to sound robotic. It's not going to sound, it's
going to sound very robotic. Like, going back to like what Roberto and I were talking about, I mean, it's partly, you setting those standards for anyone you have on your podcast. So whether it's the like if you're just recording audio through StreamYard, for example, and Roberto and I, maybe we just look at one another and we just need to record the audio. We make sure that everyone is at the best level that they possibly can be. That I think is really key there. For example, if you've got somebody that's on a mobile phone, I could tell you right now, chances are there's going to be, some sort of lag with a mobile phone. If
1,000%.
Yeah. And you also can't use, you can't use the Elgato Wavelink 3 that Roberto was showing. You can't use that with your mobile phone. So, you want to encourage people to be in an environment where, they're literally just sitting with you for 30 minutes or 1 hour. So it's not random. Try to get to scheduled.
Yes.
To where, who your people are that are going to be on your show. You've prepped them beforehand. You've started to prep them. So start to plan ahead with your podcast so that then when you have them on, you can start to build those consistencies.
Yeah. If you do a call-in show, you're always going to run the risk of it not being, quality or up to your standards, which means that if people accept that there might be shenanigans on a live show, that's different. But in the edited final product, you would want to only have what was to your standards in there. So there's that. And then you could always set the standard that, hey, if you're going to call in, please make sure that you respect the quality of the show and the listeners by having, a quiet environment or this or that and next to the other. So the thing is, it's really just about how you set boundaries, how you set standards, how you do quality control, because after the fact, this is why I invest so much in hardware, Christian. The reason that I invest in the fancy hardware setup, the reason for the fancy gear, and I'm gonna once again show off some of that. The reason for the fancy gear is because this just means that at the end of the day, by having this kind of gear, that I am basically guaranteeing that what is going in is quality, because garbage in, garbage out. There's no amount of saving something in post if it's just bad enough. However, if I take the time to have quality microphone, quality, audio interface to even take that to another level to deal with air conditioning and fans and stuff like this, so I can actually be physically comfortable under these hot lights. And I have these other things to just get me to another standard of quality, then guess what? It means that quality in, quality out, and then anything I do from a software standpoint can only make it better, can only truly make it better. But if you don't have quality and then you try to augment that bad quality with after the fact in post and editing and software, there's so many ways to make it worse at that point. Like you're trying to make something passable when you didn't even start with it being passable. Whereas if you actually just start with something being good to begin with, you can only enhance it and make it better. And there's less opportunity to make it worse.
I love that point, actually. And it reminds me, remember when people would take, they take a photo and it'd be this, you take it and it'd be this big, right? And you're like, oh, I want to print that out and I want to put it on my wall. The thing is, there's only so much data there to where when you try to expand it, what's going to happen is it's going to look pixelated. It's going to lose that quality that it had because it only had this much to start with. And it's the same thing for your equipment. So it's starting with the right pieces of equipment. So for example, the best investment you can make to start with is to get an upgraded mic. And you don't have to break the bank, as Roberto and I both mentioned. You don't have to have the Shure SM7Bs. You don't have to have the Rodecaster Pro. You can start with that Elgato. It includes the software. And by the way, the Rode one, by the way, the Rode NT USB Mini and the Rode Connect software, they even tell you that it's basically like having a Rodecaster Pro, except it's just software. So, that's kind of how they're pitching it as well. So it gives you options depending on what you're going to do. But start with something like that. That's going to help. It's going to give you a good quality base to be able to build from versus trying to take something that's really, if you're recording off your laptop mic, it's going to sound like you're recording off your laptop. So
exactly,
you got to start with the best quality you can possibly get. And the great thing is StreamYard does make it super easy in terms of, being able to multi-stream, being able to make a live stream, being able to do a recording, or being able to just, do an audio podcast.
Exactly. And that's why with StreamYard, if you can just even get one of these really good USB microphones
Mhm.
and then turn your phone into your webcam instead of using the webcam on your laptop.
Yeah.
This is literally all you would have to take with you and your laptop, and you can live stream in high quality anywhere. You just need a stand of some kind for this, and then you have this and your USB cord, and that's it. It's portable. It's like we were joking about podcasts in a purse earlier, like which I might like make a kit like that for people. Just
Actually,
like,
a cool idea. Yeah.
yeah. So like, boom, and that's it. That's all you would need in order to have a really good quality show, whether you're doing podcasting, video, live streaming, all of it right then and there. And it's not going to weigh you down, and it's good to go, because that at that point, even for utilizing the software, you have a good quality microphone, and then the camera on the phone is one of the best cameras out there, and it's readily available. And the thing is, doing it and with the setup, you can go ahead and you can see yourself in StreamYard, which means you can use the good version of the phone's camera. You can use the back cam there, so instead of the selfie cam. So that's why it's actually really affordable and really accessible to do high level video live streaming and podcasting now. Regardless of everything you see us have, we could make this a lot simpler. And the thing is, we have good, more than acceptable quality hardware, even on a budget, to use. And then that's augmented by software.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, these are really great points, by the way. And Yellow Tuxedo, what's the best app to use your iPhone for StreamYard? I put a video in there. We did a video with, it's called Re-Incubate Camo. We did a video with the founder of that. There's also Irian Cam, right, Roberto?
Yeah. And then there's multiple webcam apps. Logitech has its own software, but it works with its own thing. But that works on Mac and PC. Razer, for their webcams, because their gaming is only really Windows PC, Razer does not have software for the Mac, and you just have to use a third-party software for that. So I think there might be something, I think it's called like Webcam Pro or something. I'm not 1,000% sure on that. So you can use things like that. And then there's several for the iPhone. There's so many.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, even if you want to go like a step further back, like you can use QuickTime. So you can plug your phone into, like, you'd hardwire your phone into your computer, use QuickTime, for example, and there's a record option, and it'll let you use your camera. But personally, I like using something that has software. Like, for example, Re-Incubate Camo has a desktop app, and it pairs up with your phone, and then it allows me to control the like various things about the phone, switch cameras, add some filters, things like that as well, like apply video filters, actually.
Yeah.
So Roberto, we also have another question, by the way, from Albert here. I want to see if we can answer that one.
Is this the question, or
I think he's talking about the fan under his laptop.
Okay, I'm looking for, is that a higher up question?
Actually, you got it there. Actually, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a really good question, actually. So, Roberto, like the key thing, obviously, you're mentioning here is streamlining how you're producing your podcast. Like you create this very small kit that's portable. You can take it anywhere. Now, the other thing also that's super important when you are doing a podcast recording, it is your environment. So it could be that computer, for example. So, I don't know if you've experienced this, but if your computer happens to have a fan and it kicks on, what do you have any recommendations on what people should do to try to avoid that when they are doing their recordings?
Part of it is the distance of your laptop to the microphone. So part of that's the distance. Now, in theoretical normal terms, a lot of people will have their microphone like right here or right in front of them, and then the laptop. But the thing is, if you put a little bit more distance, that's just an issue of the distance between the microphone and then the source of noise. So it just depends. And then some laptops are just very loud. Here's the other thing. If you don't think you'll melt your laptop, you can go in and you can lower the fan settings. You can actually manually override your fan settings and get your fan lower or even turn it off. And you just have to be able to understand that, okay, will this literally melt my laptop? If I do that, will it shut down my laptop? Will it overheat? So you might want to look at that and monitor that. It just depends on the circumstances. And that could be the environment too. If you're somewhere, if you're outdoors, obviously that creates several other problems in your live stream. But you just have to look at your circumstances and situation. If you're going to be stationary like I am, and you're like in your home office or studio, that's part of why I invest in things like the Rodecaster, or why I would get a Go XLR or something like that, is the amount of gating and suppression while not muddling. Because notice, I literally have the air conditioning running at 60 degrees, and I have my fan above me running as well.
Yeah.
And watch this, Christian, when I stop talking, dead silence.
It's so eerie, like how quiet it is.
Almost unnatural. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's I have all of the things. Nick Nimmin helped me with the settings. I believe Mike Russell from Music Radio Creative helped him with his settings.
Mm-hmm.
I had the settings dialed in, and I'm actually going to make my own tutorial in like both video, and then also maybe find some way to, I don't know if there's a way to screen record the interface of the Rodecaster settings. So I'm probably just going to do some kind of, I have the ability to have an overhead rig here, and I also have the angle here. I'm going to find a way to just like straight up record the settings, but I'll also probably just make my own graphic interface mock-up of the settings dialed in so that people know. So I'll just literally, like, between photography and video kind of, and then graphic design, basically make those settings for people. But the point is, these settings are somewhat also a little bit tweaked for me, but they'll still be the closest range of where you could go up or down on these, and it'll get you to perfection. But that's my point. My point is, if you have something like the Rodecaster Pro or a Go XLR, and then you have the proper settings for your environment dialed in, and you have those settings and presets, then all of a sudden, even without going out and sound dampening or soundproofing your place, you can go ahead and you can have the high quality, perfect audio you want, because you have the means to create those conditions. Sometimes you can do that by clipping on a lapel mic and then using that as your way of doing it, by getting the audio as close to you, and then every other noise source is lessened for doing that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do it by putting yourself in a position where you're basically eating your microphone, like a lot of people do. You can do that. You can use hardware like a cloud lifter, a Rodecaster. You can, again, there's any number of ways to try to address this problem. You have to figure out which one actually makes sense for the circumstances you're in. And if the situation's your fan, you can create distance between the source of noise and then the input, which is the microphone, source of noise being the laptop, and then the microphone and the fan and all of that. Or you can address it by changing the noise itself by just lessening the amount of output from the fan, as long as that will not destroy your computer hardware. Yeah. So look, that's my answer to that question.
No, it's a good question. I mean, from Albert. So one other thing I also want to add, about, if you're going to record a podcast, it's also making sure you're in the right environment. So, you need to, like, if you think about it. So for example, why does a movie look so good when you watch it? It's because it's not just because it's been edited. It's because it's filmed in a studio for the most part. So they control all the different facets. So they control the sound, they control the audio, for example, they control the video, they control the lighting. So, a lot of that stuff might be added back in, if you're going to record a podcast, a lot of people, we had some people that were asking about recording outside. And the thing is, okay, so when you record outside, if you're going for that look and that feel of, hey, you know what, I want to capture some sounds from the city, things like that, just know that it's going to also introduce potential challenges. It's the fact that, things that are out of your control. And so that's one of the benefits to doing your recording in a controlled environment, because all you need
1000%.
You bring the equipment. You don't need expensive equipment. You get a mic, headphones, camera. And then once you've got all that, you can record it right in StreamYard, and then you control all the sound. So for example, if your environment, for example, is really like, let's say it sounds very like echoey, like there's an echo, or it sounds
a lot of
hollow.
reverb. Yeah,
reverb. Put some carpet down, for example, or get some sound panels on your environment, because you're basically, the sound is doing this. It's going all over the place. And so it's going to sound,
and it's just bouncing back and coming to the thing. So the thing is, once it hits something else, then that's where the dampening comes in. It's like, okay, it was absorbed, so now it's not reflective, because that's what a room like mine, I have vaulted ceilings. So it's like a big old reflected room. But because I have also a lot of furniture, and I haven't put up, I just actually got some Elgato sound dampening stuff that I couldn't put back there with the the headphone collection. So I can put it above that instead of maybe artwork. But I also have artwork on the walls, and so the artwork on the walls helps absorb a lot of the stuff versus it being reflective. So you just have to, like you said, the environment, and that changes the conditions. That's why things like controlled sound, controlled lighting, controlled climate, all the things that determines a lot of the quality. Because like we said, garbage in, garbage out, gold in, gold out. Yeah. So that's going to really help you. There is something we didn't cover before we get into some other parts of the live streaming component is we talked about using your phone. We talked about webcam, but we didn't really talk about using the real cameras that we're using. Cause when I put my hand in front of here, it does that really cool autofocus thing. But here's the other thing. You could use something like this. This is a Sony ZV-1. Literally, I call this the everyman YouTube camera, the everybody YouTube camera, whatever, because it has the flippy screen, which is YouTube vloggers will want to know. We have that. We have this to put on for sound suppression. And you also can put in a microphone. You can clip that on, whether it's an electric microphone or there's a microphone input jack, no headphone jack. And it has a built-in zoom lens that's basically the equivalent of 24-70. So this is already at f2.8. So this is literally all you need, and it can function as a webcam. It can function as a webcam, even with just software only from Sony, or you can combine that with, I thought I had it here we go, or you can combine that with an Elgato Cam Link here. And then you would have, okay, I have a YouTube camera. It's perfect for vlogging. It's perfect for stationary. It's perfect for everything. I can add a microphone to it or not add a microphone to it. I have wind suppression built in. And so, okay, you have that. You can, and this then becomes almost everything you need. You can add a microphone, whether it's if you're doing live streaming, the USB microphone, like we said. If we're doing vlogging for less than $100, you can add a vlogging microphone that will be even better quality on top of this. You can use the software to help you turn this into a webcam, or you can use the Cam Link, your preference, whatever. And this is a portable solution to just take you to next level. And because of the zoom features, you have some more options in terms of how comfortable or where you can put it or position it or what look you want. The environment, you have the depth of field blurry background because of f2.8 if you need it. The only thing and has a built-in ND filter if you are outdoors. It has a built-in ND filter. So all of those things make this a perfect solution. Now I'm using a DSLR with a lens for this camera, and then obviously for camera angle 2, I'm doing the same thing. So you can see that, and they're all Sony as well. So you can see that there's ways to go up from here, but you literally for years to do your regular YouTube recorded videos, do your live streams, do everything. Just this Sony ZV-1, $700 I think, and no upgrades required. And then with minimal microphone equipment and lighting, you could literally just run off of that for both video and live if you wanted to go beyond your phone, and you would be done with that and your laptop or your computer. So I wanted to point that out.
I want to say you forgot one feature of the camera though. It's the fact that it can actually take pictures. So if you're like, hey, you know what? I need to take some headshots. Like you want to get a headshot for your YouTube thumbnail. You got a camera right there. You got a fantastic camera.
And this is fantastic for Instagram. So it's the ultimate content creator's camera. It's the best camera that a content creator could. If a content creator needed to buy a camera and know that they don't have to buy a camera again for a long time. This is because this is not a perfect thing, but it's a perfect for most people thing. This would be more than enough of a solution for almost all your needs as a content creator. And you would still be on par with 80-90% of the biggest people that are out there in terms of having access to the same feature set. And you don't have to go out and keep buying ridiculous hulking camera lenses like me. It's this is absurd. But it serves a purpose. And you don't need this because you could get pretty close with this. It won't be 1-to-1, but it's pretty close.
And you could get close with this. I mean, very close. With this. No, there's lots of really good questions actually from everyone. And it looks like Coffee Talk and Text also using the ZV-1 as well. So I mean, lots of options there. I mean, and remember, start with what you have. So if you've got the like I know when we started the show, you had the Logitech C920, I think, right?
Mhm.
So start with that and then level up as you're going along. You don't have to go from like 0 to 100 to start. You got to get your footing. You got to get things built. You got to get the audience tuning in. So start creating the content and then, move up from there as you improve your live streams.
Yeah.
So do we have a couple other questions, Roberto, or you let me
I
know?
think we actually covered everything that we
Okay.
had on deck and then some. I think we covered everything we have on deck and then some. So if there's not really anything in the chat, we could really just start to wrap up here, because I think that we've covered so much and probably almost everything you might really need as a beginner and then some in the last hour and a half. So I would say let's just start actually wrapping it up, unless there's like one or two final questions.
Sure. Yeah. So if anybody's got questions, just let us know in the comments.
Kamari, you do not need a Mac to live stream with an iPhone if you're using StreamYard. If you're using StreamYard, you can simply use your iPhone as an audio source, and you can go ahead and use any number of software tools to use it as a webcam, even on a PC. You can go ahead and you can use this as a webcam source on a PC and just plug it right through with StreamYard, and then whatever audio source you have.
And just to kind of reiterate those examples, if you're using a Mac, QuickTime built in. So you just hardwire your phone in, start with QuickTime. It'll give you the option to open your camera at that point, your smartphone camera, and then on the other, or your iPhone. And then on the other side, you can look at Reincubate Camo, Irian Cam as well. All really, really, really good options to use.
Exactly, because what it's going to do is it's going to let you use the source of this basically as a virtual camera. So, yep.
Fantastic. Are there any other questions on your end?
Let's see. Just checking here for questions. Also, in general, I do recommend good headphones, because we did say it's great to have headphones. When you're on there, especially if you're having guests and so on and so forth. I have the DT770 Pros because they are very comfortable when you have to wear glasses.
Mm-hmm.
And I can wear them for long periods of time. I use them also for editing, unless I want to use my monitor speaker. Sometimes just to not have to wear headphones, I'll do my editing with my my desk monitor speakers. So yeah, that's just to also just not have the pressure on. So.
And on my end, I'm using the Shure SE215s. Basically, they go in my ear, and then I tuck them behind, and then I have a 6-foot cable extension. And the reason I do that is because these typically have like a 3-foot cable, and so they do allow me to move around. I don't have to worry about,
I might get those just because that looks much more low profile.
Yeah,
and it doesn't look like it would be uncomfortable. So I'm definitely going to use your link for those, Christian, because I do feel like the Shure 215s could be a better solution for people who don't like big headphone cans. I also kind of just like the look and the aesthetic of wearing like big headphones and everything like that, because it just lets me look pro.
Yep. Well, but I like your point that you brought up, though. I mean, and that's the thing, it's comfort as well. So it depends what you're going to do. If, for example, I'm going to be on screen and I want that low profile look, I'm going to put the in-ear monitors in. But for example, if I'm just recording a podcast, so I'm just recording the audio in StreamYard and I just need to see Roberto, for example, but I, want to be comfortable. And I like your point about glasses, by the way, as well. Make sure that I, wear comfortable headphones, because it is going to be, a small stretch amount of time that you're going to have to go through wearing these headphones. So you want to make sure you are comfortable, but that you can also hear the audio. And there are two different options. I mean, obviously, if you go with the ones over your ear, you are going to eliminate a lot of the noise, but not all of it. And this one, for example, goes directly into the ear canal. So there are two types of headphones, but find something that's comfortable. This is a great question, by the way, from Walter. I don't know if you want to take this one, Roberto.
Well, you can actually take this one. I'll add any of my comments to it.
So does StreamYard allow me to play live streaming music such as Epidemic Sound? So you can route your Epidemic Sound audio files into your live stream. There's a few different ways, actually. We actually just did an episode this week about bringing background noise, specifically with Epidemic Sound in. Some of the solutions we said were you can download the file, open it into a Google Chrome tab, and you can do a screen share. That's going to be the base way to do it. A couple other options. You can use the Elgato. If you have the Elgato Wavelink and the software, you can run it through their software. If you've got the Rode NT USB mic, you can run that through Rode Connect. And then you can also use options like voice meter or loopback as well. What else would you add?
If you have hardware solutions like the Rodecaster Pro, you can go ahead and you can put that in. Again, just like I have my podcast set up, you could go ahead and you could have your files for Epidemic Sound music, or even if you make music of your own, you could have it set up for that, whatever you need. And then, because it's really about having an audio source to be able to pull from is really what it comes down to. And so that's why using software solutions where your mic is maybe going through the software, then you're choosing the audio source in StreamYard of being that software, because then it's working as what's called a virtual DAC, because I'm using the Rodecaster as a physical DAC. Yeah. So that is what's happening there. The same way that my Black Magic AUDA Mini is my video source. That's why I actually have 3 camera sources hooked into it right now. And so that's why I can toggle between different cameras when I do that, because it's the AUDA Mini is acting as a virtual cam because it's acting as the video source. So with StreamYard, you have an audio source and a video source. Hardware or software could be a source. And so then it's just a matter of using that hardware or software to do everything else you want, whether it's move between virtual cams and interfaces, something we don't talk about, but that you could do just to take things to another level. And I'm sure StreamYard will eventually, in the pro version, maybe get to a place to where, even while keeping simplicity, because I think the biggest challenge, if you don't mind me saying so, biggest challenge for StreamYard is giving you as much features as possible while keeping things as simple and easy to use without being technical. Streamlab OBS is something we kind of sometimes avoid talking about, but here's the thing. There's great ways to combine it with StreamYard if you wanted to. And we have our friend David. Our friend David does it all the time. He talks about this. David from live streaming, I believe he's live streaming. No, wait, he's a nerd. Yeah, because he rebranded. Sorry. He rebranded. But the, what was his rebrand again?
I can't remember. It's nerd something, nerdy tech maybe.
It's something, yeah. Because again, I struggle when my friends rebrand and everything like that. That's fine. They do it to me too. Like, so, but anyway, my point is, my major point is this: when you look for a solution, it's about simplicity. Streamlabs OBS was a simpler version of OBS, which is mad complicated. And that was trying to be like an open source alternative to $1,000 software and things like that. StreamYabs is one thing. StreamYard is, I think, the most simple solution, because here's the thing. I tried everything, including Streamlabs, and guess what I use? I use StreamYard because I'm like, I don't want to do all that work. What I will say, though, is if you want to do something advanced or more complicated, you could always combine things, because the one thing I will say is if you want to design your thing to a certain way, or you want all these multiple interfaces or these scene changes and all that stuff, it's complicated to do. But if you actually combine, as David does, Streamlabs with the benefits of StreamYards, you could set up a lot of that complicated stuff and your system, and then route that through the virtual camera output into StreamYard. And the thing is, there are things that are simpler to do and more stable, in my opinion, in StreamYard that you would benefit from layering it in that way. And then in terms of multicasting, I still think that StreamYard does a better job of multicasting. So the thing is, and again, I know sometimes some people might think that's awkward, but it's like, I just want to, and David's brand's Impartial Geek. Thank you. Impartial Geek. The reason I bring it up is I want people to understand that StreamYard can enhance any workflow you already have as a live streamer. It can already enhance any workflow you have in audio podcasting or video, and it can simplify the part that I think is most important, is feeling like you have an easy, stable live stream, and also the ability to invite guests, and a very simple way of multicasting. if you want to do anything more complicated on the back end on top of that, you could have hardware. Like, remember how we made this really complicated? Like, remember how we looked at you could have all this. You don't need it. You don't need it, but you could have all of this, but you really don't need it. So even on the software side, you could have all the fancy software in the world. But if you want a simple, stable solution, you can do 80-90% of anything you could think to do just by using StreamYard. If you want to augment that, you can augment that with some hardware. Your hardware can even be augmented by other layers of software, like we talked about. There's things like Twitch community knows about this voice mod. You can do a lot with voice mod. You can do a lot with, we brought up the Rode software, the Elgato software. There's things you could do where even with your gaming, you can augment that with other hardware solutions as well in terms of your gaming setup. But the thing you really want to do is, for whatever your circumstances are, simplify it. I went with StreamYard because I could just cut a lot of complicated stuff out of my life, and I can put quality in and get quality out.
And it's also the message. I mean, the message and the content is the key thing. So, the more complicated you make it, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to improve, the viewers, for example. It's going to be more complicated for you. And so you want to make sure that your message, is what you focus on, and your episodes. What are they about? Be very descriptive. Yeah.
That's why, again, it might be nice to have something like browser source overlay. Do 90% of people need that? Probably not. You can make that solution work. But again, I think how much value does that, I mean, it's cool, but how much value does that add to what you're doing at the end? That's why I simplified things down to StreamYard. Just for most of what I need to do in most circumstances, I would say the exception of where you'd want to get into complicated things and use a potential another layer of additional software might be if you're a gamer on Twitch or if you're doing Facebook gaming. I could understand that because gaming is a very specific solution. It's not really what I think StreamYard was set up for, even though you could benefit from it. 100%. Did you say that's fair, Christian?
Oh yeah, definitely would definitely agree with you there.
Yeah. Because again, I just want to give you guys me, I'm just going to tell it how it is. I'm just going to tell it how it is. And I think that we did that. I think we answered pretty much any question you could have that's not overly advanced stuff. Because I think we just started bordering on advanced now. So I think that's a good place to bookmark it.
Definitely, yeah. So I want to give everybody a quick recap. So basically, to do a podcast, all you need, so StreamYard, you can do an audio podcast, you can do a video podcast. What you're going to need if you're going to do the audio podcast route, you're going to need a host, Anchor, Captivate,
Simplecast, Buzzsprout.
So get your host. You then can go into your StreamYard dashboard. And then, for example, Roberto and I, we make the decision, hey, we're going to also show people what this podcast looks like. We go in, we record, use the record only feature as a destination, or we can stream it out to Facebook Live, YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live, if we want to give people, a real behind the scenes of this is what it looks like when we're recording the episode. And then afterwards, we can download the audio directly from StreamYard and run it through some of our favorite programs, Audacity for editing, doing some cleanup, maybe you've got some long pauses, things like that. AUPHONIC to normalize the sound. And then once we're finished, we export it. And now we can upload that to our podcast host who will handle all the distribution options for us, i.e. to iTunes or Apple Podcast, Amazon Music,
Spotify,
etc.
And with StreamYard, we can actually even have the separate audio files for all that editing and cleanup if we want. That is a pro feature, and it's only going to get better from there.
Definitely, yeah. So this has been fantastic. I hope everybody's taken a lot away. I'm going to turn it back over to Roberto.
Yeah, I think to close out, the main thing we want to say is focus on simplicity, focus on your systems, and focus on delivering the best show you possibly can. And we've reduced it down to some very affordable hardware options for you. A lot of that will be linked in the description down below. audio wise, something like the Elgato Wave gives you the software so that you only have $130 worth of hardware. Same thing with the Logitech C900 webcam. Or again, you can use your mobile phone, whether that's iPhone or Android. Some people definitely be simpler to do iPhone. And then in terms of if you wanted to use a quote unquote real camera, you can go ahead and use something like the Sony ZV-1 for all of your needs. And you're just taken care of. It's really as simple as that. And that's why StreamYard, in my opinion at least, is the simplest solution for live streaming and also for audio podcasting, video podcasting, live to tape. So I think that's where we want to leave it. We want to thank you guys for joining us live. Thank you so much, Christian, for doing this with me. I think it was a blast.
Anytime. This was a lot of fun, actually. I want to definitely do more of these if you're up for it. So
I'm absolutely up for it. And we can talk all things hardware. And if you want, let us know in the comments after this what you'd like us to cover, because we can cover a lot of things. We could even do something with green screen, and then we could literally just both get on here with green screens if you want. And we could show you how StreamYard handles the green screen and everything like that. I like these technical topics. I like these deep dives, and I like showing people what they can do and giving them the budgets and giving them the real deal on that. So I feel like that is like super helpful, because I would have loved this when I was getting started. I would have loved to just sit in on this and get that.
Yeah, for the most part, when I was getting started, I was buying various pieces of hardware. I'd buy multiple microphones. I was buying multiple cameras. And trying to figure out, well, what's the right balance, because I wanted to test them out. I needed to figure them out myself. And, I love doing this. This was a lot of fun. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, we will catch you guys next time. What's the next live stream they can look forward to on the StreamYard channel?
So I don't think there's one tonight, but I know tomorrow we're doing live stream reviews at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the StreamYard channel. It'll be myself, Letitia Campbell. Will basically bring people on, talk about their live streams, and see how we can help.
Yeah, and that is, again, tomorrow, Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I believe that StreamYard channel reviews happen every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern.
Just about every Saturday, actually. There's like 1 week that we don't do that. We do YouTube channel reviews 1 week.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's live stream reviews tomorrow.
So Saturday, live stream
12
reviews.
p.m. Eastern Standard Time, yes.
And that helps people improve their show. It helps you guys improve your live stream, kind of like how we did a little bit of giving you some advice on that today. Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, everyone. Stay awesome. We'll catch you next time.